Hello, hello, welcome to the stream. It's your host Cyberdragon, and this is Logic Lab. Today we're going to go over the recent game jam and go through this article here to see what it's all about, and then put some logic together inside the Game Maker that might be useful for this game jam. Hope everyone has been well. Okay, so this one is a discovery game jam. The theme looks like it's to do with Blondish as the IP. And here we have a bit of a description. So let's go through it. Imagine this: you embark on a journey through a surreal digital landscape, guided by a hypnotic beats of Blondish, uncovering hidden frequencies that awaken forgotten parts of yourself. Will you decode the sonic mysteries to unlock a deeper connection to the world around you? Or perhaps you'll design a game where players navigate a futuristic festival, solving mind-bending puzzles that reveal different aspects of their identity. What if an ancient rhythm holds the key to self-awareness, hidden beneath layers of time and sound, waiting to be discovered? The possibilities are endless. Every beat could unlock a new realization, every challenge a moment of growth, and every world a reflection of the player's journey, whether it's vibrant digital dance floors, mystical landscapes of sound and light, or hidden truths woven into the rhythm. This is your chance to turn a discovery into an immersive personal experience. All right, cool beans, cool. So it looks like it's to do with sound and light. So we will look at that sort of logic in the Game Maker as well. Vibrant dance floors. We've seen quite a lot of those in the past. Mystical landscapes of light and sound. All right, we'll play around with that today. There's a theme, right? The theme is discover your inner self. And I don't mean like a surgery type of way, it's more of a philosophical. This is your chance to craft an experience that goes beyond gameplay, one that takes players on a journey of self-exploration and transformation. Whether it's unlocking hidden layers of consciousness, navigating surreal dreamscapes, or syncing with the rhythm of blondish hypnotic beats, let your imagination run wild. Awesome! Alright, cool, cool, cool. Well, we can now dive into the game maker since we know what we're looking at here. We want to look at sounds and we want to look at different types of ways you can end a game. So it's a discovery game, so I'm guessing we can have like multiple endings. So I'll show how to do things like that. Yeah, all right, cool. This looks like a cool game jam because there is no, the gameplay is open-ended. So you decide the mechanics, which is fun. The game can be single player or multiplayer, which is great. Yeah. And the prizes look okay too. Got to get that land, got to get that sand. All right, Blondish. I wonder if there is a sound library for Blondish. Let's check that out. All right, so we're going to add the sound component, and this will give us access to the library of things. Now, you do need to pick between single player sounds and multiplayer sounds. Now, if you're making a single player game, it doesn't matter which one you pick. If you're making a multiplayer game, you have to determine, do you want the sound to be played for everyone, or do you want a sound to be played for the individual? So if you want a sound to trigger just for an individual because they pushed a button, you need to pick the single player play sound, because that means it will only run locally for that player. If you pick the multiplayer sound, that means everyone can hear it. So you need to determine, is the sound going to be heard by everyone or just by the person that's triggering it? And that's when you determine which one of these you use. So let's just do single player for this example. And we will edit the logic so we can bring up the whole thing. And we can click here, sound to play, to bring up the library of sounds. You can do a search bar here. You got drop downs for different types. There's categorizations for sounds, which is handy. So if you want stuff for weapons, there's all the weaponry type sounds. You got some for voice. So if you want to see what voices there are, they're just child playing sounds. That's not cool. We've got ambience. We need more voice sound effects. Got animals. So we can do, say, what's a wild animal? Bats flying. Okay. Well, it would help if I had my sound settings up. So I've turned them all down by default because that's how I work. But since we need the sounds today, we need to turn that up. You can kind of hear it. I might turn it up a bit higher. So we can hear that camel grunt. Love it. So we've got all these different sounds here. I'm going to stick with all, and we can type in here whatever we want. So I typed in blonde to see if there's any blondish stuff, but there isn't. So that means that you're not restricted or obligated to put something blondish in there because there's nothing that pops up. So you've got 62 pages of different sounds, so you're going to have to go through them and see what will be relevant to your game. Now let me just do... We'll pick a sound, a random sound, and we'll play around with how you activate these sounds and how to do up that logic. Hey everyone in chat. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so we got play on start. So if we just click tab, you can hear that it played the sound instantly, but we don't want that. What we want here is a message. So we can put the message here, which is play sound 1, or you can put any message you want. And now we need a message to trigger this sound. So let's go ahead and put a volume trigger, or trigger volume. I always say it backwards. Trigger volume. And here we can make it smaller just for the sake of this exercise. And when you walk into this bubble, we can send a message. So walking into this bubble, when we enter the bubble, we can send a message play sound, and it will send to everything. But here we can just send to self. And now when we walk in, it plays a sound. Now, if we try to walk back in again, it doesn't play the sound again. This is I guess it's a bug or a thing that hasn't been addressed yet, but it is on the list to do. The way to get the sound to trigger again is to toggle on the interruptible. So we're going to make that true. And we got message to stop. So we can say exit. And we have exit here. So when the player leaves the bubble, it will send a message to stop, which then allows the message to be played again. So let me test that out. So we heard the sound. Now when we exit, it does the exits message. And then when we enter again, it's playing again. So that's why you probably experienced, if you did play with the sound component, not being able to trigger it twice. It's because you need to have the interruptible and have a stop message before it allows you to play it again. Let me bring up a panel and we'll make it into a button that we push. And we'll make this a message broadcaster. Again, if it's a single player game, it doesn't matter which one you pick, but if it's a multiplayer game, you have to use the same one that you're using to play the sound. So single player only talks to single player, and multiplayer only talks to multiplayer. Since this is a single player sound component, we want to put a single player message broadcaster. We're going to edit the logic. And here we got wait before broadcast. We're going to toggle that on to true. And the message required will be interact. Interact is when the player presses E. So when a player presses E on this panel, it will send a message out. That message here can be play sound 1. And it could be everyone in range, which is everyone in this yellow bubble. And you can expand that bubble or make that bubble smaller. Or you can just go ahead and do it to all, and it'll just do it to the whole map. But to be efficient, I guess it doesn't make much of a difference, but you can do in range. If you know that the only place that the sound will be played is from here, then you can kind of optimize the game a bit and just have it in this bubble. Next, I'm going to remove this trigger volume so it doesn't play when we walk in. Now it requires me to press E on this panel to play the sound. As you can hear, that worked. But now if I press E again, you can see the sound is not playing anymore. And sometimes you want to push the button a few times and have the sound play over and over again. In this case, the walking out and back in is not going to be efficient. So let's just see. So we've got a message in chat. Hen Game Studio says, can we use single player sound for just player who interact with sound in multiplayer game? Yes, that's exactly what it's used for. So if you have a multiplayer game and you only want the sound to be played by the player that's pushing the button, you need to use a single player component, but you also need to have a single player trigger for that to work. Now notice when I push E, it plays the sound once, and now I can't push E to play it again. There is a trick to this that I found that makes this very clean, and I'll show you this trick. So instead of using the play sound message to play the message, you can use the play sound message to stop the sound instead. And what we will do here is we're going to add a speaker component. And on the speaker component, we'll make that 0.1 so we can trigger it quickly. We don't want it to look at the player. And we want to wait for message. And that message will be the same message we used to stop the sound, which is play sound 1. So when we push this message broadcaster, it sends a message play sound 1. Instead of playing the sound, we're going to stop the sound and also send a message with the speaker, which then sends the message play this sound. And what we'll do is we'll broadcast it just to the self, and then we'll use that to play the sound effect. So it's going to stop the message, stop the sound, send a message to itself to play the sound. So that way it guarantees to turn it off, so it's loopable, and then sends a message with the same trigger to play the sound. So let's see that in action. So that worked. That worked. So now I can push the E button to play the sound multiple times. I know people have been trying to use timers, using timers and things like that to make this work as a loopable sound, but all you need is this setup here in order just to make the sound work. Again, you send a message to stop rather than to play, and then you can trigger the chain this way. Awesome. All right, but if you change this to a multiplayer sound component, then when you push the button, everyone will hear that same sound. So you'll need to know these little tricks to make your life easier when it comes to playing around with sounds inside a Game Maker. All right, next we're gonna do a example of changing different sound tracks depending on where you are in the map. So for this one here, again, you probably want this to be a single player sound component if it's going to be a multiplayer game, because different players can be in different areas. So you want to make sure that it doesn't trigger for everybody, especially if it's an ambient sound. If you want to put this sound settings, all you got to do is just right click and click copy, and then come over here and you can right click and paste. And now all those settings that were here are now on this numpad. And here we can have again the trigger volume. And we're going to change the detection shape from sphere to box. And we'll make it a small box just to fit the area. And we can do say 2.5 by 2.5, and it covers this area quite well. And what we can do here is we can say play sound when we enter, and stop sound when we exit, and we only want to trigger it for the self, so just here. And here we'll just do the normal play sound and stop sound. So when we walk in, it will play it. When we walk out, it will stop it. And we just need to pick some music. So we've got some music stuff here. So we've got we have Across the Worlds. And what we do here is we can duplicate with Control D, and we'll bring it over to this one, and we can play a different sound. or a track, I should say. Okay, and we Control D. I'll bring it over here, and this one can be like an ambient. We've got a few ambients. That will do. So we have 3 different areas, and again, you can expand this as big as you want. So if you have a massive cave, you just expand it to textured area to be completely in that map. And now when we walk into certain areas, we have this soundtrack. We have this soundtrack. So depending on where you are on the map, you can have different ambient tracks playing for the player. And we can push the button. Awesome! So we've got a few ways to manipulate sounds. So I'll go ahead and save that. Hey Phil Sandbox, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. So this gives you a little basic idea on how to use sounds inside a game maker, and the little trick on how to make them repeatable by using the message to stop. So that way you can spam that button and get those sounds to continually play. You can have different ambience depending on which area you are in, that sort of thing. The Medium article also said about discovery and things like that. So you can play around with environment bending. So let's see if I can find something to make this work. So we have a tree. We could have another tree if this works. These are exclusive assets. Or we have this one. Try to find something that's a bit more to the size. Maybe we can do palm trees. They're massive. I wanted something a bit smaller. Just for an example, of course, you can make your own assets to do any of this. So what we could do here is we can have environment changing. Since we are looking to discover something within, we can alter the environment to make the player's environment change based on the decision making. So let's say we have a full green tree, and we go ahead and save that as a preset. So we click this button here, we click create new and click confirm. And this gives us the option to name the asset. We're going to do full green tree and we're going to confirm. So now that saves as a preset. So if you press L to bring up your library and click the preset tab over here, you can see we have this green tree. We can add settings to that tree. So what we can do here is we can add a plant component, and this will allow us to kill the tree. So we'll say kill tree, and we can use this to kill the tree with a message later on. So we can go back and save over that same preset, and it will save with that setting. So next time I put down this green tree over here and we click on it, you see it's already got the component, and you can do that with behaviors and all sorts of things. So you can customize your asset, save it as a preset, and then you can use it to asset spawn it or plonk it down around the map as you like. And what we can do is we can say dead tree. And again, I should highlight all three of these because I'm going to put plants on all three. So I'm going to put on the plants and I'm going to copy the settings of this tree's plant, highlight this and paste it. And now all three of these have the kill message. And what we can do here is dead tree. We'll go ahead and save that as a new preset. We'll call that dead tree. This one here is apple tree. And what we could do is save that as its own preset. And this one here can be blue tree. Awesome. So we've got our own environment building type trees now. So what we can do is we can bring out a numpad. We can make it invisible and no collisions, and we'll remove the existing component, which is the button. And what we'll do here is we will add an asset spawner. Again, you can have SP if you want it to just trigger for the individual, or MP if it triggers for everyone. That's up to you. And what you do here is you remove the only once to false, so you can spawn it whenever you want. And we'll use a preset, and that preset will be a dead tree. Awesome. And we'll say spawn trees 1. So we have spawn trees 1. When that message is sent, it will bring out a tree. We can duplicate, and instead of the dead tree, we can have the green tree. So we can say spawn trees 2. And we bring out the green tree. So when you use, oops, that deselected it. So you can see now that spawns a tree. We'll duplicate that again with Control D, and we're going to spawn trees 3. And we'll make that the apple tree. And we'll duplicate again. And the last one here is spawn trees 4. And we'll bring out the blue tree. So now we have a place where all trees can be spawned. And now we stack these on top of each other. And all we do now is Control D, and we can duplicate this multiple times in multiple locations. Just like that. Awesome. Next, we probably want like an NPC for your game. You probably just want some character that you talk to. We'll just pick a basic one for this. Just talk to a Smurf, why not? And we will give the Smurf a asker. Multiplayer asker, because these asset spawners are multiplayer, so we need to have a multiplayer to talk to the multiplayer. And how do you feel today? And we can have dead inside, feeling lush, and then we can say I'm kinda hungry and I'm feeling blue. Or yeah, I can do a feeling blue. And then we can just do trigger tree 1 as the message, then trigger tree 2, trigger tree 3, and trigger tree 4. So now when we pick one of these trees, it will send one of these messages. What we could do here is we just need some sort of middleman to kill the trees and spawn the next one. So what we can do here is we can use a speaker component. And we can say 0.1. We won't look at the target. We need the message, and the message here will be trigger tree 1. And then we can say spawn trees 1. We could duplicate this again, Control D, and this one here will be trigger tree 2, and it will be spawn trees 2, and we can just do that for all 3. And we need one more thing, which is to kill the trees. So we're going to use a message broadcaster on just one of them. And we're going to wait for message, and that's tree 1, tree 2, tree 3, and tree 4. And they're going to send a message to all, which is kill tree. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Oh, got hair floating again. What's with the fluff and fur lately? Got a dog. I guess that might have been the thing. All right, so we saved, and basically now we can alter the player's decision with the environment. So how do you feel? I can say dead inside, and you can see it spawned all these dead trees, and now we got an environment where the player can experience the way that they're feeling. They can say maybe they're feeling lush, and now all the trees are green and lush, and it's removed all the dead trees. You can also do the same with I'm kinda hungry, and you can see that we've got all these apple trees now for the player to go around and explore in. Or if they're feeling blue, we've got all our blue trees here. So we've got some sort of mechanic now that we can talk to an NPC, which then goes ahead and changes the environment based on their action or their decision. And again, you can stand in here and have different sound effects based on where they are. And this is not just for assets as well. I believe you can do this with blocks. So let's see if we can find a basic block. We should be able to find like a blue one, right? And we can find a green one. We can find a red one. And we can find a brown one. So we've got a few different ones. And what we could do here is we'll bring out another numpad, and we'll remove the collisions, make it invisible, and we can go ahead and add a multi-behavior. Bear in mind, this one could cause lag spikes, so you'll need to test this out if it's too big. And what we could do here is we can say like 50 by 50. We can make it a bit smaller for this example. Something like that. And what we could do here is block to spawn. So we have here, that's a brown one. So we can go brown, and we'll have our brown block. And we don't want to spawn it on start, we want to spawn it on receive message. And this one is tree 1, so trigger tree 1. And what we'll do here is we'll bring that just underground, and we can duplicate that, put it on top. And for the second one, which will be green, because it's the lush trees, we'll do green. And we can say trigger tree 2. I can duplicate this one, and for tree 3, we can spawn something that might be, I don't know, red for the apples. It's probably not ideal, but This is just an example. And over here, for the last one, which is a blue trees, we can do a blue block. And we'll just make sure that we are triggering the right trees. Now let's see if this works. Now we talk to the Smurf and we'll say we're dead inside. And you can see now our environment is changed, not just the trees, but also the blocks on the ground. And if we go ahead and do feeling lush, you can see now our trees are lush and our ground is also looking pretty vibrant. Maybe we're hungry, so it spawns the apple trees, and you can see the red environment changes as well. And I'm feeling blue is the same thing. It changes the trees as well as the ground to match. So this way you can really alter the environment based on players' decision choices to make it really feel like that they're impacting the game and the storytelling is working the way you want. And we could take it again to the next level. So I'll go ahead and save that. So far we can alter sounds. We can alter the environment assets and the environment blocks. You can change the sound to play as well. So here I have sounds based on the position of the player. So if they're in or out. But if I duplicate this and I change it to trigger tree 1, and then we can get rid of this volume and we can put a speaker. And we want to have here play message, and that is with tree 1. And what we could do here is we could put all the messages that we use to change the environment so it guarantees to stop the sound. Just like that. But we're only going to use one message which is relevant to this sound effect. So we're going to have sound 1, and it's going to be sent just to the self, and it will play here sound 1. And you can pick the sound 1. We can duplicate this with Control D. We'll keep all of this as is. We're going to change this though to tree 2. And everything else can stay the same because it's the self. And we can just leave it as that. We can duplicate it again. And we just change this one to tree 3. And duplicate this one more time. And this one here will be tree 4. And all we do now is just change the sounds so that way it is different for each one. So we'll do that. This one here, we can do something else. Yeah, that will do. Next one, we'll do another one. Yeah, that will do. It doesn't really matter. You'll have to make the sounds work for your environment, but for this example, I'm just going to get whatever. All right, awesome. I'll go ahead and save that. And then I'll show you the environment changing with both the assets, the blocks, and the sound effects. Okay, we'll talk to Mr. Smurf here, and we'll say we're dead inside. And it didn't work. And the reason why it didn't work is because this guy here is a multiplayer, and this here is single player. And because it's a multiplayer game, message won't work. You need to make these multiplayer as well. If I unticked this one and just made it a single player game, then it will work because everything talks to everything. So you can hear we got an environment, we got sounds to match, we got feeling lush, which is different again. kinda hungry. Different sounds to match that. And I'm feeling blue. So you can see right there, we can really change the environment based on just one message from an NPC. Again, you don't have to have this, you can have only once. So once the player picks something, they can't just change it. And it makes the decision more meaningful. So if I say I'm feeling blue, now the environment will be this. I can't talk to them anymore to change it. So the player is now forced to stay in this environment if that's what you want to do in your game. Alright, next what we want to do is add a weather switcher. And weather switcher here, you can wait for message, and then again you can use that tree message to change the way the environment is to give it a bit more depth. So you can say overcast, you can do noon, you could do night, and you could even do custom. So if you want to make your own particular environment, you can. So for the first one, we will do night, and that's tree 1. We could duplicate this, and we could make this tree 2. And for this one here, we could have we could just have something standard like that. Next one, we could have tree 3, which is the apple tree. Here I might want something custom, and I can make the light a bit more red. So when I click play, the light is not very good like that, but you can play around with the settings. And what would probably work well is changing the sky. So sky top to say to be more reddish and pinkish. And you can literally just play around with this to get that kind of feel. And you can probably have like a pinker one, something that's a bit more lighter at the eyes. Something like that. And you can change the shadow color so it's a bit more darker. And then we can duplicate that. And the last one is like a bluish environment, so we can go ahead and just make it blue. And again, you can change the light color to be a bit more of a bluish tinge to give it more of an alien feel. So now when we'll just make sure the right message is in here. Yep. So not only now we're changing sounds, assets, and blocks, we're also changing the weather. And I also want to make sure that this is not only once, so I can show you the switches. So we have dead inside, which makes the environment all dark. It gives it a better atmosphere. Of course, you can adjust it to make it look a bit better, but this is just an example. Feeling lush, everything's all bright. I'm kinda hungry. The environment is more red, reddish landscape. And I'm feeling blue. And it gives it more of an alien feel. Really makes the environment, it sells an environment when you have the weather matching your environment, as you can see. Hey Tom, how's it going? So this way we've got custom sounds, custom blocks, custom assets, and custom weather. It literally is the whole package. So if you want to create an immersive environment that changes based on players' decision making, this is the way to do it. And again, like I said, it doesn't have to be an asker from a Smurf. It could be from completing a certain quest or failing a certain quest. So maybe maybe the environment is lush and you accidentally let a witch free from captivity, and then she's wreaking havoc in the forest. And then she decides to kill all the trees with a curse, and now everything is all dead. Or maybe you rescue an alien, or an alien invades, and you got a different environment based on choices within the game. Hey Gannican, how's it going? So this is for the Blondish Game Jam, just giving some ideas on what you could do for your game jam to make it more immersive, to make it nicer to play, better to decorate, give those choices to give that inspirational feeling, or that feeling that you're making a choice that's affecting the environment. This is the basic stuff though. So now that you know all of this, you got the different sound effects. You got the different sounds that play based on the area you're in. You have the environment changing based on decisions that you make. And again, you don't have to use this to do it. You can use the volumes over here. Same thing, you could have a blue, red, green, and again, you can just use the same message from the volume, not to play sound this time. You can have a unique message, which is the E1 when you enter, and you can put that here as well as E1. And now when a player walks inside this area, yes, that's because the message is being sent to the self. We want to send it to all. So that tree message is detected and sent to everything that requires it. And now you can see the environment has changed based on the square being stepped on. Pretty cool, huh? Not bad at all. Going well, thank you. I'm a bit tired, but doing okay. It also states light, so light could also mean the weather. So we changed the whole lighting for the weather when we switch on the message. But let me duplicate one of these. And we'll put a visual effect down. And visual effects are just that. They're all sorts of visuals that you want to have in your environment that might give it like mist. So if you want your dead trees to feel like that it is a misty area like you would normally see in a dead forest to give it that eerie feel. Again, you can turn it on with that message of trigger 1, and you can turn it off with any other trigger. So when the environment changes to something else, it will turn off this visual effect. And you can expand that area, so radius area, and you can just do like 35. And you can see now we've got a bit more of a spooky feel to it. We don't want to enable it at start. We'll have it false. We want it to be when the message is sent, which is tree 1. So if we go over to our NPC and we say we're dead inside, can see that there is smoke there now. If we change it to something else, you can see it's got rid of the smoke. Pretty cool. That's the power of visual effects to add that extra layer. But also it is a music-based or a sound-based sort of game jam. So what we can do here is type in EQ, and these are equalizers. So these will play an equalizer. Basically the visual effects will change based on the music playing. So if we go play, we should see some sort of visualizer happening. It thinks it's over there. That's kind of weird because of this bug that's still happening. When you duplicate an asset and you change the duplicated one to something, you can see it changes the other one as well. It's a bug, and I hope they fix it because it's really annoying. All right, so we've got a visualizer here now, and you can play around with the settings for this by doing like global scale. You can bring that up, and you can see we got, you know, stuff that we can do here, and we can duplicate this. Control D. And click play, and you can kind of create a visual landscape using this sort of light. Again, you've got to make sure that your performance is good, otherwise it's going to be a not a very good efficiency setup. So now when we tab in, you can see there's nothing there. When we pick our dead inside, you can see the visualizer is kicking in, and it's based on the music. So as the music changes, so does the visualizers. I hope this gives you some sort of inspiration for the game jam. Playing with all these ideas together can really shape a nice landscape, give players some immersion and choice making, which affects the environment. And when that happens, and a player realizes there's multiple ways to do the game, and the environment changes based on your decision making, it's more likely the player will play the game again if it's fun, just to see the alternatives. But if you have any logic questions or want to know something in particular, or you're stuck with something or have something in mind, let me know in chat. I can go through it with you now and show you some tricks or things that you may not know that will help you out. But otherwise, I am reaching the end of this stream, as I've shown quite a few things here for you to work with for the game jam. I could show more advanced things with the avatar portal. There's raycasting now, there's play sound, there's light, there's trigger volume and visual effects. So you can always have a visual effect around the player. So if you do this one, and you can have like geometry. And now when I click play, you can see that there is a glow around the player. You can do all sorts of different visual effects. And you can also have a message to turn them on and turn them off. So if you just want them to turn on with a certain decision being made, then turn off when another decision is made. That can definitely happen as well. So when I come over here and I pick the first one, you can see the visual effect is turned on. And when I select something else, the visual effect is turned off. So you can do all sorts of things here as well. At the moment, you can only pick one visual effect on the avatar. I have requested to have multiple effects, so that way we can switch between different colors and different things without having this one effect limitation. So hopefully we get that down the track. But you could do fun things with that as well, especially with like the arrow. You might have something to do with the arrow, and that can be on the player for some particular reason. And you could change those settings to make it work and fit the player as well. So the global scale, maybe a little bit bigger, we'll change it. Maybe it needs to be something else. Oh, there you go. And now it's above the head. Awesome! Hope you learned something today. Maybe it gave you some inspiration to change one of your other games, even if it's not a game jam entry. There's some useful things in here to play with for your experiences. But thanks for tuning in, guys. That is it for me today. And if you need any questions answered, just reach out on Discord. More than happy to help. Thanks for tuning in. Take care. Bye-bye.